It's an exciting year for soccer in the United States ahead of the World Cup, which is expected to increase engagement and build fandom across the United States. With me now is the managing owner of Inter Miami, Jorge Mas, and also Cristina Junqueira, who is the co-founder of Nubank. And I understand, Cristina, you have a big announcement to make here with Jorge.
That's true. Today we're unveiling a phenomenal partnership that we have struck with Inter Miami. We're going to be naming the brand new state-of-the-art stadium here in Miami, which is a long-term commitment and investment in the city and in the sport. And also we're going to be in the back of their jersey starting this year. So we're now being partners of Inter Miami.
Yes.
Congratulations, Jorge. What does that mean to you?
Thank you all. First, it's an amazing partnership. When we created Inter Miami, we wanted to be a global brand. It was always my dream and aspiration that when people think of football in the United States of America, they think of Inter Miami. We've done amazing things. We have the best player in the world. We have the best-selling jersey on the planet. We're recognized globally as a top club now. And what we're doing in Miami now is transformational. We're going to be inaugurating our new stadium on April 4th of this year as part of the Miami Freedom Park development, which is going to be potentially the largest entertainment district in Miami. Hotels, offices, restaurants, retail, a really transformational site for us. And most importantly, and I was born here in Miami, and it's going to be the billboard to our city. It's located right adjacent to Miami International Airport. It's the first thing that 65 million plus visitors will see when they get to Miami. And Miami's in an incredible renaissance now as a global city. So this is an amazing partnership, one that we are going to hopefully add value to Nubank as our new naming partner and part of our jersey. And that's what we strive for. We want to add value to Nubank. From Inter Miami's perspective, we have tremendous affinity and synergy of both entrepreneurial entities and companies. We hit it off from day one. And most importantly, with their 131 million customers, something that Inter Miami, hopefully we have 131 million new Inter Miami fans, and Nubank can tap into the fan base of Inter Miami, which is global in nature.
How much of that do you attribute to Lionel Messi?
Listen, Lionel Messi's signing has been significant. He's had a major impact on Inter Miami, on our brand, on football in the United States of America. We stand before you here and read, we're the most valuable soccer club in the United States of America. Attributable to Lionel Messi, his impact has been immeasurable. We see him filling stadiums. He's the most popular athlete in the United States of America. First, a soccer player, first one to be the most popular athlete in this country, a foreigner, an Argentinian national. But Lionel Messi's a unicorn. Yeah, he's one of a kind. Having him here in our club has been amazing for us since he signed here in the summer of 2023. Many people told me that it would be an impossible an impossible dream to bring the world's best player here. And we were able to do that. And, on the back of our jersey, it says freedom to dream. We continue dreaming big. This partnership is part of that, breaking barriers and disrupting. And that's in our DNA.
How much opportunity do you think there is for an American audience, especially with World Cup coming on board this summer, for Lionel Messi to really be an ambassador overall, not just for the sport of soccer here, but for Inter Miami in particular?
Well, listen, I think it's an amazing opportunity. The league we play in, Major League Soccer, was a result of the World Cup in 1994. And a small group of men and women who took a gamble on building a professional sports league. Now we're here to make this league thrive. It's our aspiration that we be one of the top leagues in the world. We play a truly global sport. Our competition isn't other sports leagues in the United States of America. It's sports leagues outside of here. Having Lionel Messi here as the best player in the world, as an ambassador for our sport, for Inter Miami, as I alluded to earlier, Messi's number 10 pink jersey in Inter Miami is the best-selling jersey on the planet. And I think that's just a testament for Inter Miami, for what we represent, for Lionel Messi's impact on the sport. He fills stadiums. We opened our season this year at the Coliseum. It was the second largest crowd in Major League Soccer history. This upcoming weekend, he's going to be playing at where the Ravens play in Baltimore, it's going to be a full house. You know, we end up playing in NFL stadiums where Lionel Messi goes. But it's been an amazing impact, and an amazing impact for us to be able to have partners like Nubank with us, you know, obviously because for a large part because Lionel Messi is part of our club.
Let's talk a little bit about the investment here, Chris. How much is the sponsorship deal with, and the naming rights included, between Nubank and Inter Miami?
We're currently not disclosing the figures of the deal. What we can say is obviously it's a relevant deal. It's one of the biggest like historical deals on the MLS, which goes along to being on the best-selling jersey in the world, as well with naming the brand new state-of-the-art stadium, the nicest stadium the MLS is going to have by a mile.
Yes.
You know, so we're extremely excited, as Jorge said, not just about the stadium, because we're also going to be partners with the districts, right? And we see a lot of potential, not only, of course, like on the team, on the jersey, on the stadium, but also on the brand of Miami, right? Like Miami has become, to your point, like such a phenomenal city that has been attracting so much wealth, so much business, so many people from within the United States as well as from abroad. It's so well connected, right? Like so many direct flights everywhere. So it's really an investment in this potential, not only in the sport and the team, but also the city.
I'm just curious, is the investment here really about South Florida and building the engagement among Floridians in South Florida, or do you have aspirations far, far beyond the state of Florida with this Nubank partnership?
So in our case, the way that we think about this is, as Jorge mentioned, Inter Miami is a global brand. It's a global franchise. Like one of the stories that I like to tell is like we were discussing this deal last year, and I was in Rome, in the Vatican, like in the middle of St. Peter Basilica, and I see like this Korean family with 3 kids all wearing Inter Miami jerseys. And like it doesn't get more global than that. And we're kicking off this year, like this international expansion phase for Nubank. So we're not only going to be entering the United States, but also expanding our reach into a lot more countries after that. So this is an investment in building a global brand alongside with Inter Miami, which is a global brand in a sport that is growing, you know, a lot tremendously in the United States in a year that, as you mentioned, the World Cup is going to be a big tailwind for everything that's going to be happening here. So it's really an investment way beyond South Florida, right? Like it's about building a global brand alongside another global brand and combining the fandomship, right? Like, you know, the hundreds of millions of fans that Inter Miami already has worldwide, with the fans, the customers that we have that we like to call fans, because they're really passionate about our brand and our products too.
This and since we first met, it was all about trying to be innovative. How a sports team and a, you know, burgeoning up and coming financial institution that's changing how people interact with the banking system. There is a significant amount of things that we're going to be able to cross-sell, to cross-promote, because we're not thinking, our only barriers are ourselves and our imagination. So I think you're going to see super innovative products of how a global sports team like Inter Miami and Nubank, which is a global entity, in doing things that are different. You know, when myself and my partner David Beckham and my brother and we got together to build this club, you know, 7 years ago, this was only an idea, and we've done things completely different. And again, it's how do we think big? How do we think innovatively? How do we do things that are significantly different? And, you know, when you look at the financial metrics of Inter Miami and what we're doing, I think we've shown what's possible, you know, in terms of our revenue, our reach. So when we look at the partnership with Nubank, it is that it's a partnership. Is how can we add value to the Nubank ecosystem? Because if we couldn't add value, you know, we weren't just selling naming rights to a stadium or a segment of our jersey. It's not about that. That is the commoditization of an asset value, and we're beyond that. Is how do we jointly, you know, build value for both of our entities, and you know, and we have I think really good ideas of how we're going to do that, and it's going to be an extremely successful partnership.
You're talking about the investment that then goes into the stadium. What most excites you about the new stadium? Is it that its location, where it's in this entertainment district? Is it? I mean, I went to an Inter Miami game when it was in the temporary facilities up near Fort Lauderdale, and it was really charming. It was a wonderful, intimate experience, and sometimes I wonder, do we lose something with these big new arenas that you're part of a massive crowd, but you lose something then in the intimacy of the moment?
We're going to emulate the best of the experience we had in our temporary stadium in a brand new state-of-the-art facility, because one of the things we're going to be able to take advantage of now is technology. And for me, it's all about the fan experience. That stadium was built for our fans. It's going to have a capacity of, just under 27,000 fans. It's going to be very intimate. It's going to be very loud. It's going to be a tremendous experience with our supporters groups, because one of the things that people who come to an Inter Miami game for the first time sort of look at me and go, oh my God, your fans chant for 90 plus minutes. They all stand up. They don't sit down. So that is a type. I want a raucous atmosphere. I want a celebration of life and families during those games. And that's the experience that I want to create at Miami Freedom Park.
Jorge, why aren't you hosting World Cup events there?
Well, first, you have to have a stadium that's more than 40,000 capacity to host World Cup games. Those will be hosted here at Hard Rock Stadium. But we chose to build a stadium of this size to keep the intimacy. When new stadium opens, I want people to go in there and say this is going to be an amazing fan experience, an amazing atmosphere, and that's what we're going to create. We will have World Cup. We'll have events at the stadium during the World Cup. Viewing parties and events and activations. We may have some of the World Cup teams playing some friendlies before the World Cup at New Stadium,
and watch parties.
And watch parties. I'm very excited with what New Stadium will be, but all of that with what you said, to keep it intimate, keep it unique, and keep it to that you can only experience that at New Stadium.
And location plays a role too,
Yeah.
right? Like you've been at the temporary stadium that's up in Fort Lauderdale. So I think another expectation that we have is like, this is such a much better location, more convenient for the fans, right next to the airport. I feel like this is really going to become like one of those city like milestones and attractions that even tourists are going to want to see.
It is.
I wanted to ask you, I've been in so many sessions with investors in NFL, NBA, women's soccer, tennis. The valuations are skyrocketing. The sponsorships are coming in. There's a lot of interest right now in investing in sports, and that's driving the media rights up as well. How's it going with Apple TV? Are you happy with the deal that MLS has made with Apple TV, Jorge? And do you have any concern that if the NFL goes back in and renegotiates its media rights deal at the levels that some people are predicting, it might starve out other sports, that it might hog all of the dollars that are now available for these media rights?
Well, listen, I think Apple is an amazing partner. I'm very close to Eddie Q personally. But listen, I think the Apple media deal for us goes beyond just the value of the deal. When you look at Apple as a partner, you look at that they have 1 billion devices around the world. So it's also an extension and an asset for our partners and our sponsors who are going to derive value out of our relationship with Apple. And the important thing is that we get eyes on the product. It's Apple now, took it from behind a paywall to in front of a paywall. I believe we broke viewership records, this past week in Major League Soccer. There's going to be peaked interest. I am not worried about the NFL going out. The NFL is a unique asset. Their media dollars are going to continue rising, but we have to look at what we can control, and it's to have an amazing product on the field. I want to field a team that has world-class stars. We have the best player in the world. We're surrounding him with great players. We're the reigning champions. My fans want us to win trophies. We are going to win more trophies this year. So it's about winning. If we win and we can continue having eyes on our team and on our league, the media value will come. Obviously, are we satisfied with the economic value? I aspire to more. I think that obviously we have a lot of room to grow. We're with an amazing partner now, but the important thing for us as owners of team, as investors, is to put the best players that we can on the field, and the media value will follow.
How much longer do you think you're going to be able to keep Messi?
Well, we extended Messi for 3 years. Leo will be with us for 3 years. It's going to be his last contract and his last team. He's also going to be an owner of Inter Miami. He will be an owner with us when his playing career ends, which I think is good for football in the United States of America. It's amazing for Inter Miami. You know, and you know, a lot of people ask me what happens in a post-Messi era. Well, you know, we're prepared for a post-Messi era, and again, is to bring the best players on the planet to play in South Florida, Miami, in pink and black.
And one last one for both of you, and Chris, I'll start with you. You're putting all of this money, I assume it's a lot of money, even if you haven't said how much it is. You're putting all this money into this sponsorship and this partnership. What do you consider the metric of success? How will you know, say after World Cup, that the partnership is a success?
Oh, this is a long-term partnership, right? So I think we're going to be looking at success metrics for the long run. But having said that, the way that we think about this is, Inter Miami is an asset that is adding value immediately to our current operations in Brazil, Mexico, and Colombia. Because again, Inter Miami isn't just like an MLS team; is a global franchise. Is the number one jersey sold in Mexico? Is one of the top jerseys sold in Brazil, and so on. But we're also entering the United States very soon, right? Like we just got conditional approval from the OCC to start a federal chartered bank here in the U.S. So we got to open the doors of such bank within the next 14 months, I want to say 16 months. So that's something that we're preparing for. So one of the aspects for success of this partnership is that together we can tap into this passion point that is soccer for so many fans that aligns so well with the younger, more affluent demographic that we want to attract, and start building this love brand that we want to be for Americans, you know, in the future. That is a long-term project. You don't build a love brand in a day or like even the period of a World Cup. But obviously, we want to be well prepared to leverage the momentum that the sport's going to have this year to already start building this foundation.
And Jorge, just a little bit of a different question for you. There's been so much attention onto the World Cup for the United States. How do we gauge whether that has been a success? By what metric should we use?
I think you'll measure the success of the 26 World Cup after the World Cup. And I think a year from now, if you see viewership up, you see interest in our league, you see, you know, U.S. fans following Major League Soccer clubs, I think that's going to be the measure of success. I think from a business, an entity point of view, the soccer fans exist in the United States of America. When you look at the Miami market alone, I would venture to say now that the most popular sport in our community by far is soccer, it's football. With the makeup of our community, so Miami's approximately 60% Hispanic in nature in terms of Latin and South America, Central America, the Caribbean. The first sport is soccer, it's football. I've always thought that, you know, and that's why Inter Miami has become so popular here. We tapped on something that you could not see. And that's what we've done. And I think that's true in all of the major U.S. cities. When you see Inter Miami travel and fill stadiums at capacity, 75, 80,000, as an away team where we go, and half of the stadium is in pink, you know, I think that's a testament to what is in the market. And now it's just a matter of taking advantage of it, of being putting front foot. And again, and I repeat, invest dollars in players and rosters, bring the best players in the world here. We cannot be losing great players to the leagues overseas. And if we're able to do that, you know, we will have one of the most valuable leagues in the world.
Jorge Mas, it's a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you very much. Good luck in the new stadium. And I wanted to say, Chris, congratulations on being named a CNBC Changemaker. We'll look forward to seeing you in New York City in April.
Thank you. Likewise. See you soon.